So Shopify is one of the most powerful tools for businesses out there, but if you don't use it the way I'm going to show you in this video, you probably will be missing out on some business growth. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a professional website using Shopify, and we're going to make it so that viewers who visit your website will assume it was made by a team of web developers, regardless of if you have any experience at all. And we're going to do this in just a couple of hours. In fact, we're also going to get started for just $1. So this sounds too good to be true, but it actually is, just based on Shopify's new updates, now completely possible. So this is a full tutorial. I promise I have nothing to sell you, no upsells. This is just a genuine free tutorial on YouTube. And we're going to go step by step from no website to having a full professional website. This is a click-by-click tutorial where I'm going to build a website alongside you, show you how to set up payments, show you how to set up your design on your website, how to do marketing, how to do anything that you need to know about Shopify. By the end of this video, I assure you, you will be an expert on making websites using Shopify, and your business website, as long as you follow along in this video, is going to be up and running and ready to go, ready to start growing on the internet and selling physical products, digital products, anything, subscription products to any visitors on your website. So with that being said, we're gonna get started off over on my laptop here. If you already have a Shopify account, great. If you don't already, this is a free tutorial, and the only way we can fund this is through affiliate commissions. So if you appreciate that, if you find this helpful, please consider going through our affiliate link down below at absolutely no extra cost to you. We will get a small commission out of that, and it helps us to fund videos like this. So with that being said, if you wanna go through that link, you can type in santrelmedia.com/Shopify, or you can copy and paste the link in the top of the description, or you can click on that link in the top of the description as well. It'll open it up in a new tab so you can have the video playing and also follow along click by click. In addition, this should also be giving you $1 per month for Shopify. So I mentioned that we're gonna get started for $1. For the first 3 months, it's actually $1. After that, you'll have different plans you can choose from. So let's start off by entering our email address, and we can click on Start Free Trials. Now they're gonna have a bunch of things to kind of customize our dashboard. I'm gonna skip all of this. None of this actually matters for you, and I'll show you everything you need to know on the dashboard in a second. Now we can make a password. Now there are 3 main plans. If we click on View Plan Details, it'll show us a little bit more about them. And in essence, the main thing you're gonna wanna look at is how much sales volume you're already doing. So if you have a brand new store and you don't have any sales volume, just go with the basic one. That's probably the one you want. If you have some sales volume or you're expecting to ramp up very quickly, then you may want to go with this one based on the credit card rate. You can see 2.9% versus 2.7 versus 2.5%. And that little 0.2% could be worth, $66 per month. That's something that in the future, it may be worth it for you to actually upgrade plans or just start with a more expensive plan. In addition to that, there are some additional things, like if you have a larger team, you need more people to sign in, if you want to do like a point of sale in person. So check out these other plans. You can compare them down here and show the differences with all the different features. But like I said, for anyone getting started, the basic one is probably going to be all you need, and you can always upgrade in the future. So I'm going to start off with the basic one. Just click on Try Basic. Now we can enter our payment details. Like I said, 3 days for free, $1 per month, plenty of time to cancel if you want. Now we can enter our business address. So this, if you're just working from home, could be your home address. All right, so that brings us to the dashboard, which honestly looks quite different than it did in the past, because Shopify very recently had some major updates that, I'll talk about throughout this video. But one thing to note is that if you don't see a banner on the top that says choose a plan, or if you don't see one on the bottom, that's good. That means your plan worked. But sometimes if you go through a little process, sometimes Shopify, if you don't type your credit card information right, or something happens, it may not actually register, and you'll see that banner right there. So I recommend now would be a good time to make sure you have the plan so your website doesn't just get deleted in 3 days when the trial expires. So with that being said, I want to start off by giving you a quick little layout of the land. On the left side, these are all the tabs we're going to go through in this video. We've got our orders. You can manage like customers and stuff like that over here. We can import, or we can create our own products. You can see products as this tab right here. That's going to be the first step we do in this video. And then of course, a bunch of other things we'll talk about, but the way Shopify works is with sales channels, which is kind of a unique approach here, where you have your online store is viewed as a sales channel, but Shopify can do more than just an online store. They can manage your inventory and do a lot of other back-end stuff. If you're selling in person, if you're selling on eBay, if you're selling, for example, you want to link to Meta and sell on an Instagram shop or TikTok shop, you can do all of that with different sales channels, and you can search for other sales channels. We'll talk about that later in the video. The main focus of this video is going to be on your online store running through Shopify here, which is going to be, as you can see right there, online store. That's your website. Below, we also have apps. I'll talk about other apps you can get because this is really good at connecting to different email marketing platforms or analytics platforms, different kind of retargeting things. There's a lot we can connect to Shopify. Being one of the biggest players in the industry, it's no surprise there are a lot of great apps available. So step one is going to be adding our products. So on the products tab, if you're not here yet, click on that on the left side. We're going to add our first product. Now, the first product, I'm just going to keep it as a basic product, just a simple physical product, and we'll talk about other variations as we add more products. We'll build some complexity here, but let's start off with the title. Say some premium beef jerky. We can add a description right here. And by the way, with the description, of course, you could type it all out. You have the normal editing tools. If you wanted to add an image here, you could. I wouldn't really do it here. There's other ways to add images. You could, add a link. You can make things bold, underline. So if I have like a whole paragraph, let's just copy and paste this again. Just for example, if I wanted the premium beef jerky to link out to maybe our story about how we do this, you click on insert link, you choose where it's going to link to, you choose the link title, and then you can insert that link. Now, I'm not going to do that right now, but instead, maybe I want to use generated descriptions right here. Just to kind of save time, I'm going to say generate right now. We can say expert, or you could have persuasive tones. There's different tones for this as well. So let's say expert sounds good. We're going to keep this as just like a little description. I usually don't recommend using AI for this kind of stuff. I think it's better to write it yourself, but maybe this gives you a good head start just to get your website up and running, and maybe you want to come back to this later. As far as media goes, you can select you can select multiple images or videos, as well as 3D models. I've actually never uploaded 3D models. Usually I just go with images and videos. So for this one, let's go. I'm going to drag these over. I've got some images right here. We'll drop them there. And by the way, the one on the left, the largest one, is going to be the primary image. The first image that customers see when they're looking at your product is also going to be the one that pops up when you have a bunch of products on one screen. So maybe I want this one to be the main image. You can click and drag it over, and that will make it your primary image. And this is also going to be the order. You could rearrange them as you see fit. We have a category, which was auto-filled for jerky in snack foods. Down here we have pricing, so you could have your price. So maybe our price is going to be $21.99. You could have a compare at price. So if this is like on sale or other people maybe sell it for more, you could have that. I'm going to leave that blank. I don't really want to have a compare at price. We can charge tax, of course, depending on your area. Consult your tax advisor to figure out how you should be doing that. And then the cost per item, customers will not see this. This is simply for the back end for you to track your own profit. So if this costs us maybe like $7.34 to make, you'll see our profit and our profit margins. I guess I exactly picked 2/3 right there. That's interesting. For inventory, we can track the quantity at a location. So we could just say in our warehouse, we have 450 of these. We can add a SKU or a barcode. So the SKU is a stock keeping unit, of course. I'm going to call this one 10,001. And you can choose if you want to continue selling this when it's out of stock. If it's something that is easy to make more of, you're accepting back orders, and you can do that. I'm going to leave that off right now just so it doesn't mess up our shipping times. Down here we have shipping. You can add customs information if it's going internationally. I'm just doing this domestic, so I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave that out of it. We'll talk about shipping profiles later on in the video. And of course we have variants. Now I know I said this was going to be a simple product, but I think I want to show you variants here. We can show different flavors. It's probably the easiest way to use variants. So if I click on the add option, we can say flavor, and we can create flavor as a new one, and we can add the values here. So maybe we're going to have original. We can have teriyaki. Maybe we just have 4 different flavors right there, and we can say done. And you can add other options as well. The second tier would probably make the most sense for a different product like t-shirts. Maybe you have size and you have colors. Maybe you have size, color, fit. You can have several different options. And for each variant, for each one, you'll have multiple variants that give you a big permutation. So if you have 2 different sizes, 3 different colors, this will make 6 different SKUs, and each one you can have a different image, different price, and different barcode or stock keeping unit if you want that. You can see here just having one variant. You can see here just having one option with 4 different variants gives us 4 different variants down here in total. And so for each one, we can change the price if we want. We can choose how many are in stock. So maybe we have 450 of each of these, and we can actually have a different image for each of them. So when somebody clicks on the variant they want, the correct image shows up. And it's something I highly recommend doing. I'm going to click on the little plus icon here. And so I think this is the classic flavor. I think I called it classic, not original. So we can always rename that right here if we wanted to, or actually up here we can rename it. So let's change this to classic. Classic, we'll say done. And so that one's classic. Now we can add teriyaki, say done, This one I have an image for as well. And then of course, peppercorn. Down here we have some categories, so that's just been added. You can add more on your own. Allergen information if you want to add that. A nice little suggestion right here. Now that's not going to show up for all products. Shopify is getting a lot smarter and they know, hey, you said beef jerky, that's a food. Allergen information is something that a lot of people like to add. And then on the bottom here, the search engine listing, essentially this is how it's going to show up in Google. You can see the name of the product right there, the little description below there, and of course the URL. We'll talk about that domain. We're going to fix that in a second. And it also shows the price. This is something you can edit if you want to show up in Google a little bit differently. The URL handle, so maybe this is going to be Dry Creek Premium Jerky, Premium Steak Jerky. And I can, before I click save, up on the top right, you can also add some more product organization, the theme template. I'm going to go down and actually just say save. I don't need to change anything else on this one just yet. All right, product number 1 has been created. Now I'm going to make one more product and then I'm going to make some collections and then we'll actually get into designing the store. So just kind of going through the product. If we click on product again, you'll see we have one product, the stock. We can see it's active, the category, and where it's actually being sold. Right now, point of sale, online store, and shop. Which is just essentially Shop Pay if you want to sell through that. But I'm going to click on add product right now. So for this one, let's just say it's going to be beef jerky, beef variety pack. So this is going to be, again, I'm just going to generate text. We can upload some media. And so this is going to be just like a little variety pack. Maybe I've got, let me just go with one of these. No, I think this one right here. And then maybe each of our flavors. We'll add those 4. And again, this just shows all the variety pack right there. So then down here, the price for this one, this is obviously it's going to change depending on which variant you get, but just choose one price for now. We're going to edit this in a minute. So maybe this is going to be, so 3 of them is going to be like, I don't know, $61.99. No compare at price. The cost per item is going to be $21.30. Again, similar margins there. In stock. This one's a little more complicated because you can't have like 3 different ones kind of bundled together. I'm making this as its own product, as a bundle. So we do need to track this SKU slightly separately. So I'm going to say for this one, maybe we have like 25 in stock. We'll talk about how to combine these later on. If you wanted to make a product combo and you want to do it that way, you totally could. But just for the sake of showing a variant in here, I'm just going with this bundle for now. We're going to call this 10,002. The weight's going to be 5 pounds. And then here we can add variants. So the variants are going to be, we can choose a custom option. So you can actually choose flavor on here. You can choose whatever. I'm going to go with a custom option. And this is going to be quantity. And the quantity could be 3-pack, 5-pack, 7-pack. We can say done. And you can add another option as well. So you could also have different flavors. So you can have a 3-pack, all the same flavor. And you can just kind of make a big permutation. But then down here, you can see the variants we can each have, 3-pack, 5-pack, 7-pack. You can have an image for each of them. So maybe this is going to be the image for the 3-pack. And as you can see on the right side, we can have the quantity. So maybe 25 of each of them. They'll have a different SKU. So 10,002, 3, and then 4. And then the prices here, we can also change these. So maybe like 70 and then $91. And if you can click on it, it'll give you more information. If there's a different HS code for that, you can add that there. Let's add some images for these. So for the 5-pack, I have an image, but it's actually only 4. We're just going to roll with it just for sake of having an image here. We're going to upload this little 4 variety pack. Click on done. And then let's add a 7-pack. We'll say done. So in products, we have 2 products now. I'm not going to build out any more at this moment, but I want to actually make a gift card as a 3rd product we can have included in here. So if we go to gift cards, just in case you want to include this, just a nice way to have people more of an option to spend on your store. So if they don't know what they want to get for somebody, but they know they like, your product, your store, they could just, give someone a gift card and they can choose maybe the size that fits them, for example, or the flavor that they most enjoy. So we're going to click on add gift card. And it's worth mentioning on Shopify, you do have some extra editing tools. So if I click on this image and I want to change anything about it, I could resize it. I could crop it. So if I just want this to be like a little bit, maybe not that aspect ratio, I want freeform, make it a little more of this aspect ratio in line with the actual card. We'll go with that. And then we can say either download or just so we can resize it down to here and up to here, then click on apply, and we can save that. You can also replace the background, color the background, do some basic stuff like that. And these tools are definitely improving with time. As you can see, the AI is really improving with here. But let's click on exit. And with this one, we can change the denominations. We can add a denomination as well. So maybe $150 would be a good one to have in there. And that's pretty much all I want to show right here. So we'll save gift card as a product. So it's going to be a gift card product. If we go back to products, you'll see we now have 3. And now I think we're ready. Before moving on, I want to kind of start building out this online store. There's more we can do here. We're going to build out, of course, collections and things like that. But I'm pretty eager to start this website and get it looking good. On the bottom, if we click on below sales channels, online store, it'll bring us to this page right here. And we have the option to build using some templates, but choosing the template definitely matters a lot. So if we scroll all the way down, there's 2 real main ways you can do this. One is going to be through the themes that are pre-built. If we click on Visit Shopify Theme Store, there are a ton here. Way more than half are paid, but fortunately, Shopify did just make some new ones very recently. I think there used to be like 12 to 15 free ones. Now there are 23 free ones. So if I select free, you can see all the ones that are free. I think Horizon is a new one. I was thinking about using that one in this video. Yeah, Horizon right here. This is one of the new ones with a lot of really cool features. Just very easy to launch, minimal, but definitely gets the job done. But the other option, so I remember I said there were 2 options for your store, for your theme. One is to select one from the theme store. The other one is to use AI to generate them right now. So the example they give is a store specializing in premium air-dried beef jerky and protein snacks. That's based on my store. So it knows what my store is, it knows what the products are, and it's recommending that as your design. So if I say generate themes, it'll cook up 3 themes that it thinks might be a good fit for what I'm doing. And I have to say, I actually really like this a lot better than a lot of AI store builders out there that just give you one store and you have to regenerate the whole thing. Giving you 3 themes at a time, I think looks pretty good. Now, granted, these themes don't have relevant images right away, but they should have a layout that might make sense for you. So if I look at this one, we can see, again, it's kind of based on more so on snacks. I'm going to change the prompt. Let's change the prompt, but I think this is close enough. This is a pretty good start here, and I wouldn't be unhappy with this. I would just want to change the font and the colors, of course, but let's try one more time. So looking at these, you can see if I say view demo store, this one looks pretty decent. It's not too bad. This might be a good fit for what we're looking for, but I mean, I really do think the Horizon one that I showed you, it's actually right here as well. I kind of want to try that one out. So I'm going to go with the Horizon one for this video. And again, it doesn't matter that much which one you choose. You can customize it entirely to look like pretty much any of these stores, but it is going to give you a head start if you choose one that is the best fit for your store. So I'm going to click on add for the Horizon one. And by the way, when you add it, you'll see it's still not your default store. Like the store up here is using the theme Dawn, which just comes with Shopify. And in order to make Horizon your main theme, once it's done installing, you will have to click on publish. Now, because this is a brand new store, I'm completely comfortable publishing it. In the future, if you ever want to change your store, you can build out a full second store with nobody being able to see it, password protected, private and everything. And then when you're ready, you can just hot swap it in by clicking publish. So that's why there's the customize button down here and the publish button. But like I said, I'm just going to publish it right away. So click on publish. We can publish that one. So now we'll have our online store. And while we're at it, I just removed my password right away as well, especially a new store like this with a domain that nobody's going to find. Just remove the password. And now we can click on customize. Finally, getting into designing this store. So clicking on customize, you can see it added our 3 products right here. I don't love the layout of those 3 products. So a quick rundown of how this is really laid out on Shopify. They're using a section layout, and on the left side is a hierarchy, essentially a tree of what our website looks like. So on the very top, it says hero. So that's going to be this little section right here. And you can see if you hide it, that's how you can identify what something is. Below that, we have the product list grid, which is just very basic, just the only 3 products we have right now. And below that, we have our footer down on the bottom. So extremely basic right now. We're going to build this out. And even though it looks basic, there is still a lot that the template did give us. For example, the checkout page, the cart, everything else, just designing the homepage. This gives us a little more flexibility to work this way. So within each section, essentially on the left side, you can see if we click the drop down, there are different items within there. So we can customize for this one. I didn't mean to click on that, but for the first one of product list, we have a header on there. We have the product cards, and we've got a bunch of other things we'll dive into. Let's start off with something a little bit simpler though. I'm going to add a section, and maybe this section is just going to be an image, for example. So you can see we have a lot of key ones right here that they're recommending. So like new arrivals, one that kind of, you can have some marquee ones. I'm going to start off with the Hello Marquee one just to kind of show you how this works. This one, a much simpler banner. This one is a much simpler section. So you can see we have a spacer on the top. We've got the marquee right there, and we have a button on the bottom. Very simple. That's all there is to it. So with each one, so this gets a little complicated. It's kind of tricky how Shopify does this. I could either click on the top where it says Hero Marquee. That's going to edit the entire section. Or I can click on any of the elements within that and it is going to edit those. So for example, this is the marquee. If I click on that, it'll edit the marquee itself. But I click the down arrow, I can actually edit the text. So let's just edit the text first. So for this, I want this to instead say, so maybe just cycling through like that, for example, and we can customize a little bit more about that text. If it's going to be like a heading size, if it's going to be paragraph size, I definitely don't want that. Or you could customize it as well. We can also choose the padding. So if you want this to have more space above or below it, we can change all of that. Now, I'm going to click on the little back button here, and above that, like I said, we can customize the marquee itself, which is going to more so be if it's going in forward or reverse. I think it makes more sense to go the way you would naturally read. We could change the color scheme right here. We could have a transparent background or an opaque background, and again, change the padding there. Going back a level, we can choose the spacer above. If we want this to be a little bit larger, that'll move everything down more, or we could leave it where it was, so right around 20, I believe. And we can also have a custom mobile size. So if somebody's on their phone, is it going to look different? Now, since we mentioned the topic of a phone, you can see on the top right here, we have desktop, mobile, and full screen. So if you're making a website, I think it's really important to check out what it looks like on a mobile device compared to what it looks like on a desktop. Extremely different, and really important that your website looks good on both, because in many situations, it's going to be 50-50, if not more mobile than desktop. Then if we click on button, we can customize what this button is actually going to do. So it could link to all the products. It could link to a specific product. So if I click on, maybe it's just going to be the classic steak one right there. So you could say browse flavors, and we can choose the width on both mobile and desktop right here. If you want to make it custom, you can make it like 40% of the entire screen or something like that. I'm going to make it to fit right here. On mobile, maybe that one makes sense to make it like half as wide as a screen. I don't know, just an example of how that can work. Clicking on back, again, this background looks pretty bad. So we can click on this one. If you might have guessed, the entire section has that background. So if I click on Hero Marquee, here we can actually change the media to, and the layout. So let's start off with the first one here. We're going to change the image, and maybe it's just going to be, I have an image of just like some cattle. Let's go with this one. Now, I really don't like this section. I just want to show you guys how these tools actually work. But of course, on the bottom, we also have the ability to change a little bit about the layout. So if we want to have it aligned, left, right, whatever, change any gaps. And of course, on the very bottom, you can add a blurred reflection. Kind of cool for some images. It won't make a lot of sense for this one, but if I toggle that on, you'll see just kind of the reflection of that image, but blurry down here. So we're starting to understand how these tools really work. The store still looks quite bad. So let's start making this actually look a lot better. Starting off with the hero on the top. If I click on that, it'll actually bring up the editor on the left side, or as we've been doing, you can guess, you're able to click on the drop down and either click on hero or click on the contents in there. So logo is going to be right here and text is going to be over on the right side. So let's click on hero. Let's change the image in the background. So for this background, I actually just want it to be a color. So I'm going to say select, I want it to be this color. There we go. So now we have that color on the background. I want to change my store. So I'm going to change, of course, the logo here. So if I click on back, we can then go down to logo. Let's change the logo. Now to change the logo, this is actually from theme settings. So this is going to send us over on the left side to theme settings. Might as well go into this right now anyway. We're going to change our colors throughout here in a minute anyway. So let's go to logo and favicon. The favicon, by the way, see if you can see this in my screen recording. It's going to be up on the top. See the little Shopify logo right there? Your website is also going to have the Shopify logo unless you go and add your own. So I'm going to start off with adding our logo. And right now I have that right here. Say done. So that's our logo. We can have the favicon, which I'm going to use as this image right here. And generally you want the favicon to be small, but Shopify does a really good job of scaling it down anyway, so you don't have to worry that much about it. Now this, you'll see our logo did push everything down quite far, so I'm going to change this, or actually click on the pencil. We want to crop this down a little bit so it's not like a really tall one. So let's say crop and transform. We can freeform this one and just kind of bring it down to this and up to there. There we go. Now we can apply it and say save. Click on exit, and that looks a lot better now. We're going to move it in a second, but you get the idea of how that's working. So when I scroll down, it shows you can see the header appears on the top, and when I go to the top, it disappears. So I actually really do like that header. I would rather have it look more like this when we get to the home page. Actually, something like that would kind of work just fine. Now, because I'm just not liking this hero on the top, I'm just going to delete it. So I'm going to click on, you'll see the hero on the right side, just click on delete. That'll get rid of that. I think that's completely fine. I don't think we need it there. Instead, we're going to add a new section. We're going to add a custom section. I'm going to click and drag this custom section to the very top right here. And then when we click into that, we can name this and just call it home section, choose scheme 3. And by the way, we haven't changed our color schemes yet. On the left side, back in theme settings, we can change the colors. So each section, you can choose a color scheme if you want. So this section is scheme 1 right here. The top section that I just made is scheme 3. I'm going to change scheme 3 to match our colors now. Now, this is very beneficial, in my opinion, to know your hex code or your HTML color codes. So what I like to do is I'll just go to HTML color code identifier. Just Google that. There's tons of them. They're free. You just upload your logo or whatever. So I'll just upload my logo here and then just click on what color you want. You can see our hex color code right there. I'm going to copy this and we're going to paste it right here. Hit enter and there we go. We can make our text dark brown. We can make our headings dark brown in this section. There's really a ton of stuff you can change for each one. So like what color is the button going to be? What color is going to be a secondary button? Anything like that. When somebody types in an input, what is that going to look like? So there's a lot you can change for each one, but once you have your color scheme, I'm going to click on back and let's get back to editing that one on the top. So you can see we have our home section right here. This has no blocks in it. I'm going to add a block, and the first block could be maybe, let's just say some text. We're going to have some text in the middle, or actually a heading. We're going to say heading. We'll add a heading in there. And then below that, we can add, so if we just hover, we can add a new block and add an image. And you know what, maybe for this image, it's going to be our logo. So we'll select an image. We're going to go with Dry Creek Jerky Co. So we have a heading right there. Maybe below that, we want to have some more text. Let's start with the heading though. All right, so it looks like my screen recording just cut out for a second there, but all I did was add some text right here. And what I want to do is add an image to the background. Now, bear with me on this one. I know what this is going to look like. I want to show you a really cool and impressive feature in just 1 second. So adding an image, you can see background media. So looking at the home section, background media, we can say image. Now I have an image that I uploaded, you can see right there, and we have an overlay on top. So background overlay kind of makes it a little more blue, kind of brings out the sky a little bit more. And this isn't a great layout now because I want to add something to the bottom, which is going to stretch this image out. So if I click on back, you can see under home section, we can click on plus for add block, and I want to generate a block. Now this is the coolest, in my opinion, brand new tool that Shopify is bringing us. And this is the ability to make basically anything you want. This is where you really get to that next level of making a professional website that would otherwise require a team of developers to make. So for example, I could type in I want a carousel of like one product and then it switches to another product and has 2 total products. I want something to just kind of cycle between 2 different products every 10 seconds. I hit go. Granted, it takes about a minute or so to actually generate this, but wait till you see what this comes up with. So you can see, by the way, in the meantime, all this code on the left side just being generated. It's really impressive that it's actually writing all of this. And like I said, just wait till you see what this comes up with. It's worked every single time for all these different styles. So impressive. All right, this is it. This is pretty much exactly what I was looking for. So I'm going to click on select product. By the way, it just made that whole thing on the left side. So I'm able to customize it over on the left side here. But let's add a product. So we're going to select the first product here, and then we'll select the second product, which is fairly similar. And like, man, look at that. It just made that out of nothing. Like, look at that. I think that looks awesome. So it shows, first of all, that pushed all of our text up higher. And then down right here, like, I think that is such a cool thing that otherwise would have cost you a lot of money to have developers actually build out something like this for you and create the code. And you can see it's doing exactly what I said, swapping every 10 seconds. And we can change the autoplay interval right here. It made that as a variable we can adjust. We can change the background appearance, but I chose like kind of a glassy white translucent, which again, I think looks really good. Not to say this is a great looking website right now. I'm not sure I really like that background. If this was my own real brand, I would have different images and I would have more product images as well. And I would also have my own font up top, but just kind of showing you guys the tools we have available. That's one example of that. Let's use it down here to do something else as well. I want to go and so let's click on back, and just a couple more items I'm going to add to make this look a little bit better, right? So right here, we've got all of our products, but I don't really like that layout. So as you guys know, we can hover over in the middle, we can add a section, we can create a custom section, and then in that custom section, which By the way, you have to access over here. We can name the custom section. So this is going to get really confusing if we don't start naming our sections, but you can see custom section right there. Add a block. We're going to generate a block. And let's say for this one, all right, so I wanted to make a little like multi-item, essentially a bunch of columns here, and you can see it did that. And it's actually giving us the option to add follow-up instructions. We can choose how many there are on desktop or on mobile. We can choose the card style, and then for each one, we should be able to customize what the products actually are, as you see down in the bottom here. So let's select these products. We're going to have this one. Maybe I'll just use the same one in all of them just to kind of demonstrate, because I don't have 6 products here. But actually on the bottom, let's see if we can go with a wider image. Do that one, do that one again, and we'll do that one. And in the prompt, I asked it to give a little animation when you hover over them, as you can see right here, which I think kind of just makes them pop out a little bit more. So they have like a shimmer effect that goes on. We can get rid of the shimmer if we don't like that, but they also move a little bit. I just think it's kind of a cool way to interact with your store and see what your products are. So maybe for these, we would have like different flavors for all of them. If I just made them all different products, that's a good way to do that. For each one, I added a star rating, but you can see it kind of just like I don't have a star rating in there, so it just made it up right now and said 4 stars, 120 reviews. But I think this looks a whole lot better than this down here, which is just a collection. So because of that, I'm going to hover over product catalog or click on product catalog, and I'm just going to remove that section. I just really don't think we need that section right there. Now, this is more than I would probably normally add. Like, we don't have this many products, but hey, you know, I think this still looks pretty good. By the way, at any point, like you should be doing this often. I haven't done this yet. We should click on save in the top right. And when we do that, it's just going to make sure we're all backed up. We're ready to go. Also, on the top left, if you click on the 3 dots right there, you can click on view. It'll open it in a new tab, and you can experience what your website would actually look like if somebody visits your site. So logo on the top looks good. We've got this. I can click on view product, and it brings you right into the product as intended. I think that's pretty good. We can see the different flavors here. We can choose if we want a 5-pack, a 3-pack, and you'll see the image change right there, a 7-pack. Where's the 7-pack? There we go, the 7-pack. If you click on the image, you can see, again, the images that we used. Let's close out of that. And going down, you can see some other recommended products, like maybe just the basic individual, where we can choose the different flavors, teriyaki, honey, garlic, peppercorn, or classic. So far, that all looks, in my opinion, pretty good. If we click on Dry Creek Jerky Co. on the top, our logo, it brings us back to the home screen here, or the home page rather. And scrolling down, let's see if these... Yeah, as we hover over them, we have a nice little animation. That's really good, as intended. Down here, the marquees going through. I actually might put like a sale on there instead. That might be better, like maybe 100% organic, 100% grass-fed, stuff like that kind of would be better than just this right here. But we can do that a little bit later. So these are things that I would want to do in the future, but just kind of hammering home one more time that little AI generated feature, because it is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Let's do one more down here, and then we'll move on to some very critical settings that you can have on your store. So let's go and suppress all these. We'll add a section, custom section. I'm going to add a block, generate in this block. So I can also say maybe like, let's make this a lot wider. All right, there we go. So that's pretty much exactly what I asked it to do. Just kind of show some ratings. There's like a sliding, flavor and taste and stuff like that. I don't know, just something that I just wanted to demonstrate. You can ask this some follow-up questions and kind of tweak certain things, and it does a really good job of doing all of that. Which kind of reminds me of the top here. I don't really like this font and the way this looks. I kind of want that to be slightly different. So let's see if we can make that using an AI generated block. Let's see if it comes up with something better than what we already have. Okay, actually I'm going to change this background from image to actually just a different image. It's going to say change, select from library, and where is that? Here it is. Just kind of a dark wooden background. We'll see how this looks. And it still has that blue overlay. Let's get rid of that overlay. Where is that overlay? No overlay. There we go. So kind of a darker look to it. This looks a little bit better in my opinion. I would play around this for hours and just kind of get the look exactly right. But I mean, already we're getting a pretty solid story here that really does a lot. So I'm going to say save one more time. I'm going to view it one more time. If we go to view up on the top right, so this is looking pretty good in my opinion. The logo pops up on the top. We've got this image right here. these shimmer when we hover over them. I'm really liking the way this is looking so far. And we've done very little to get to this point. I'm going to close out of this. Just a couple last things, tying up loose ends here before going on to, like I said, getting into those important settings. We do, of course, have the header on the top and the footer on the bottom. I didn't really talk about those, but you edit those in essentially the same manner as you did anything else. So we can either expand the header and change the logo, change the menu, change different things about it. If you want to change the color scheme, or if we want to have a search icon, I do not want a search icon on here. We can disable that. But just kind of going through, if you want a transparent background, you could put that on the top, or homepage. Do you want it transparent? I don't want a transparent background there. On the left side, like I said, this is where you change the colors, the text, if you want to change the font scheme for everything, for the whole website. And of course, go through this in your own time and just kind of go through each one. I recommend kind of reading them, because some of them are going to be like drawers, for example, might be relevant to you. The cart options, maybe you want to change that. You want to change something about buttons. All of that's going to be over here, and this will affect your entire website. Other than that, let's click on exit and get into. Wait, I forgot to save. See what I did there? Say save. Now let's click on exit. And of course, like I said, there's a lot of really important settings to get into. So we've got home figured out. Orders, that's going to be whenever somebody places an order on your site, you'll be seeing the orders right here. So if you're picking the orders, you'll be able to fulfill them on your own. If you have somebody else picking orders, you can export this and have them pick them. Or if you have, for example, a drop shipping setup or print on demand, any apps that you connect, Zendrop, Gelato, Printful, Printify, whatever, those all connect here, and that'll automatically, send your order over. But you can still see them here, so that, if somebody calls you and they're like, hey, I have this order, what's going on? You can check on the status right here. Similarly, I'm going to skip products and go down to customers. Anybody who calls you with customer service, you can see who the customer is, when they purchase, some basic customer details down here. In products, I know I already talked about the products and the gift cards, but in between we have a couple things in here. One is going to be transfer. So if you have multiple sites and you're sending inventory from one to the other, you could track that inventory transfer right here. I think a lot of startup stores probably won't have that, but as you scale, again, Shopify can scale with you, and that's one of the benefits, just knowing where that is. Purchase orders, I'm not going to talk about that right now. Inventory, we talked about that. So if you go and get 100 more of these, you can go and say, adjust what this actually is right here as you restock. And of course, collections. This is the one that I actually wanted to show you right here. We have the homepage collection, but if I want to make a new collection, there's two main ways you can do it. You can manually do it, as you see right there, manual collection, or you can create a smart collection. Now, the smart collection can be based on several different conditions that are either met as all of them or met as any of them. So an and or an or, if you do any kind of coding, that's the logic we're tracking right here. So you could say, all right, maybe I want anything that is not tag, but maybe you could say weight is greater than 1 pound, and it also has to be something that is inventory stock is equal to 5. I don't know. It's like way too specific. That would never actually apply, but you could say anything in this. But maybe your collection, for example, would be like, let's say under $100 free shipping. Under $100 free shipping. And maybe we have free shipping for everything that is greater than 1 pound. And we could say price is less than $100. And now we have that made up right there. So if I say save on this one, I'll say save, and it should automatically collect, all right, anything that's under 5 pounds and under $100. That will be, you can see those two products right there automatically show up in this. Now, smart collections are great. As you add products, they'll get added into there. Manual collections make more sense if you're like, all right, we're releasing 5 new products in our fall collection. You can manually select all 5 of those, and that is going to be your collection. So that's all over there in products. And collections, of course, can be used when you're designing your site. You saw that banner that I deleted with the 3 products. That was actually a collection. So that's a good way to show multiple products on your website in a banner full of one collection. Going down to marketing, there's not a whole lot I usually do within here. You can see some basic stats is really all I'd be looking at. Most of the marketing I would do on a store like this would be through a separate app. And I'm going to talk about the apps in a second. But of course, discounts are a huge part of marketing. So you can create discounts. And again, this can be as complex as you need it to be. It can be a very simple, like amount off products, for example. You could just have a discount code, which is like summer 10, and this is going to be a percentage, maybe 10% off when they type in summer 10, and it could apply to either specific collections or specific products. Right now, I'm just going to browse and say, hey, just apply it to all of our products right now, everything we have. go ahead. They can all be, eligible for that. We can have a no minimum, but if you want to say, hey, you have to order at least $25 to get 10% off, you could do that. And you could say this is only for specific customer segments, maybe somebody who purchased in the past or maybe something like that. And then down here, you can limit the uses. So is this going to be unlimited? 10% off kind of probably could be, I would say, unless you're worried about this being, snatched up by like honey or some kind of coupon thing like that, then you can maybe limit it and say, all right, we're going to have like a limit of 100. Similarly, if you want to make a coupon that is like 50% off and you're working with an influencer and you want it to be the first 100 people, you could have it set up like this. Or you could say, hey, maybe just one per customer is another thing you can set up. We can also have combinations. So you could say, all right, you do want to apply shipping discounts as well in combination. You can say, hey, it works with everything, or you can make them all exclusive and say, hey, if you have one discount, you can't have any other discounts that we have. And we have a start and an end date, or a start date and time. You can have an end date and time if you want to as well. All right, so that's pretty much what you need to know about discounts. If we go back, well, let's make sure this saved. Save discount on the bottom right. If we go back to discounts, and if we want to add another one, so say create discount, like I said, you can have amount off products, you can have buy one, get one, you can have amount off your total order, or you can just have a free shipping one. All of those have a similar layout to what I just showed you, but just slightly different settings there. Content, like I said, is just going to be essentially the files you have uploaded. So if you need to manage them, swap out like one product photo for another one because maybe your product changed a little bit, you can change all of that right here. Menus, you can see right here, we have menus on our website. If you guys remember, or I could just show you in the other tab here, we've got this as a menu, so home, catalog, contact. I don't really think we need a contact one necessarily. So if we want to change this menu, which is the main menu right there, again, content, menus, click on this, and you can choose what is actually going to be in there. So I don't want the contact page in there. Let's remove that. Let's instead add something else. This could be a link. This could be our YouTube channel. And there's other ways to add your socials, but just, I don't know, an idea here. And here you could just have a straight up link over on the right side. So add a menu item, and this, maybe we could have either blogs or certain pages. So if we go to pages, actually we didn't make any other pages. I'll talk about how to do that in a minute. Policies would be a good one. Again, we don't have policies other than the privacy policy. So let's just call this privacy policy. I don't know, and we'll say okay on that one. Just showing you how you can set up your menus like that. Now, if we go back to menus, let's say we want to check out the footer menu right here, we can also change the order. So if we want them left to right, it's going to be top to down. Maybe we want this one first, or maybe we want this one first. You can arrange them as you see fit right there. Blog posts, I don't really do a lot of blogging necessarily, but it could be very beneficial depending on what you're selling, just to start ranking on Google, get that organic content. And here would be a good example of where you could do that. So simply by clicking create blog post, you can write it. It's kind of a rudimentary way of writing it here. So you can add images in this, you can add text, and you can format things as, H1 through H6, block quotes and paragraphs. You can bold, italic, or underline things. So that all does work in here. But like I said, it's kind of all working in this one little content box right here. We can add a title to the top. We can add an image as well. So that's your featured image. If this gets shared on, say, Facebook, for example, that's the image that is going to be shown next to the title. We've got author on the bottom right, and we can add an excerpt right here, as well as customize the search engine listing, which is going to be much like I showed you before, where you have you get to choose what the title is with the blue text on Google, as well as the little meta description down below. So like I said, I'm not going to write a blog post right now. I'm not going to write a blog post right now. I thought about that for a second, but I think it's just going to take up too much time in this video. I just wanted to show you guys where you can go about doing that. Down here, we've got markets. This is going to be pretty beneficial if you're doing international sales. In the past, Shopify didn't even have this tab, if I remember correctly. This was added fairly recently. And this is going to be great if you're selling internationally and you want to have some different customizations on there. So different catalogs, slightly different domain, which, by the way, we still don't have a domain. Finance is going to show you a lot more about, one, payouts. When somebody's buying something from you and they're using Shop Pay, you'll be able to see, how you're able to withdraw that money here. You do have to set up two-factor authentication, by the way, which we are going to do. But you'll see your balance here and how to actually get that out, as well as if you want a card that can be used sort of like a debit card that just draws directly from your Shopify balance. I usually just have it sent directly to my bank. I find that to be a lot easier from a financial perspective, but you can set this up any way you see fit for your business. Analytics down here, pretty self-explanatory, but let's go down to those settings. Like I said, there is a lot in settings that we need to change. We don't have payment set up. We don't have shipping set up. We don't have a domain. A lot of stuff that needs to be done here. So this looks intimidating. I promise it's not as bad as it looks. We're going to go through all of these pretty much one at a time, or at least from most important to least important, starting off with changing the name of the store. Right now in the very top, I don't know if you can see that in my screen recording. Let me pull this down a little bit. It says My Store. That's a really bad look if it just says My Store when somebody's going to your website. We need to rename this store. So let's click on the pencil icon and we're going to rename this Dry Creek Jerky Co. We've got a phone number, we've got an email, say save. And then below here, we have some other store defaults. So of course, the currency, I'm using US dollars. I'm in the US, I'm using pounds and stuff like that. The time zone is also correct. You can just double check all of that stuff. But down here, the order ID is going to be not only sent to the customer in an email when they place an order, but also used for you on the back end. So if you prefer to use just the basic number and then numbering starting at 1000, that's a pretty common way of doing it. I don't think that's a bad way of doing it, but you can add a different prefix or suffix. So you could say dash jerky lover or jerky man. So maybe jerky order number, whatever. I don't know if we want to call it that. And then at the end, dash beef jerky. Yeah, maybe we won't. Maybe that won't be at the end. Otherwise, we can click on save on the bottom. You can, by the way, brand assets right there if you want to change anything there. But then let's continue on. On the left side, we already have a plan. We already talked about that in the very beginning of this video. But if you ever need to change your plan, if you're like, hey, my business is growing very quickly, that little 2.7% versus 2.9% might be worth whatever that was, $66 per month. Then this is where you'd go to change your plan. Billing is down here. If you get a new credit card, you need to change your credit card information right there. Users, if you have, of course, the higher plans allow more users on here. And if you need to have more users, you can add them right here. So if you have somebody else working in your shop, you want to make an account for them, and you can restrict these accounts as well. They don't all have to be the same permission level as you. Some could just be, managing content or something like that. Below here, we have payments. This one is incredibly important. Obviously, if you have an online store but no way to get paid, no, it's not an online store then. So let's say Shopify payments and PayPal are really the two main things you can set up. PayPal, super easy. You just sign into PayPal here, but I'm going to set up Shopify payments. This is the best way to accept on Shopify, at least, essentially all forms of payment. So you got different credit cards like MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Visa, pretty much everything here will be an option. So you can see we got a little red indicator on the top. It seems I didn't yet go to my email and verify. So if I go back to my email, I'll pull this up for you guys. It should look something like this right here. Welcome to Shopify, confirm your email. I'm just going to confirm your email. I'm just going to copy this link and we'll go back to here and confirm my email. There we go. And you can just go back to your store. So I'm going to close out of this tab in just a second. There we go. Let's close out of that. And then from here, I'm going to refresh this and that should go away. That should be, now we're verified. We're ready to submit our details and set up Shopify Pay. So let's go and say submit details. It's going to ask for basic business details. Are you an individual? Are you a registered business such as an LLC, C Corp, an S Corp, or something like that? Or are you a nonprofit? If you don't know, you're probably just an individual right now. If you're looking to register as an LLC, we have videos on that as well. You can check out down. I'll link those down below. And it just kind of helps you to walk through some of the different ways that can kind of facilitate setting up an LLC, for example. So I'm going to go individual for this. Then we can choose our industry type, which says food and drink, and this can be meat provisioners, I guess. And then you should upload some documents. I actually didn't do that, so mine might not get accepted, but you'll have maybe a credit card statement or a bank statement, a utility, something that has your home address or your business address. Usually would be submitted alongside that, just much more likely to get verified and have that come back a lot faster. And then two-step authentication. Essentially, if you're not familiar with this, I think many people probably are, but this is going to be when you sign into an account, you don't just use your username and your password. You'll also have a secondary way of verifying. So whether that is a text message or an authenticator app, there's different ways to have this set up. Typically, people use authenticator apps. Let me just sign in right here. So unfortunately, it is going to make us sign back in, and then we can scan with an authenticator app. And this could be, like I said, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator. There's a ton of other authenticators out there, but just download any one of them. Go to the App Store and just look up Authenticator app. You'll find a bunch. And then that'll bring us back to the payments. And there we go. We can now use Shopify payments. We're ready to go. So you'll see we can accept all these different kinds of payments. If we go to manage, I think there's another one. And we should be, there we go. We're good to go. So if we click on manage, by the way, I have to blur out some of this detail. We can go to manage payment methods on the top right. And here, I believe, usually Amazon is disabled. That doesn't even, yeah, there we go. Amazon Pay on the bottom is disabled. We can just enable that. It's just one little click there. I'm not sure why it's not automatically enabled, but it's just one extra barrier reduced for anybody coming to your store, that if they have an Amazon account, they can just check out on Amazon on your store. Super easy to do. I just toggle that on just in case it's a little more convenient for even just one or two customers out there. Then going back to payments, so clicking on payments there, like I said, you can set up PayPal down there, but let's continue down the left side, checkout. There's not a whole lot I really want to do there, but I recommend reading through this to decide what do you want to require from customers. So you can have address line 2, optional. That makes a lot of sense. Company name, if you're doing B2B, maybe you really want this to be either optional or required. If you are, if you want a shipping address phone number, depending on how you're shipping, if it's like DHL or something that requires a phone number, again, maybe this should be either optional or required. And then down here, marketing options, you can have a little box, a checkbox. So do they want to sign up for emails, for example, or something like that? Tipping, I mean, it depends on what you're doing. If it's like a service, then yeah, maybe tipping makes a lot of sense. But I think no one is going to leave a tip when they're buying beef jerky from you. We'll say save on the bottom, and continuing down the left side, customer accounts. Customer accounts, I think this is really beneficial. So when somebody buys one thing from you, or when I buy something from, I don't know if it's like a recurring subscription, maybe some protein powder, I like making an account so I can go back and find what I ordered in the past and then order that again. I find it a little more helpful, also more reassuring that if something happens and you need to make a return, you have your order in your account. It's easier to kind of connect all the dots there rather than going to your email and then calling them. Sometimes I prefer that as a customer, and I expect others may prefer that as well. We can also have self-serve returns. So if you just get like a really high margin product you're selling and returns are just so annoying to do that, like whatever, just do it on your own. You can set this up as long as people don't abuse it. That's an option that you have if you want to have, you can enable it right there. Shipping and delivery. So again, if you're doing any kind of print on demand or drop shipping through like Gelato or Zendrop or AutoDS or whatever, they will usually take care of the shipping for you. And sometimes you have to set up a shipping profile in here. Typically, they just do all of that on their end. But if you're selling something that you are actually fulfilling, you can set up your delivery profiles here. So maybe if you have local delivery for like food style things, that's a cool thing to set up. If you think local people will be buying from your website, we can also have pickup in store. So if you're a somewhat larger retailer and you have a store that people can come to your storefront, pick things up, that's another great option. Or as I mentioned before, you can create shipping profiles, either general ones, maybe free shipping for everything, or you can have rates calculated with different carriers that you might be using. So preferred carriers, maybe we're using USPS and UPS for all of our stuff. I can select those and it'll calculate shipping rates based on that. Up here as well, we can say all of our products right now under the general profile, they have all these options for shipping. So free shipping over $50 for economy, 5 to 8 business day shipping. Otherwise, we can have other rates down here and you can customize all of this as well. Taxes and duties, of course, like I said, talk to your accountant and your legal advisor. They can give you some advice on how to do that depending on where you are. I don't want to touch on that. Again, it just depends on where you're selling, locations, and then of course, domains. Like I said, super important that we somehow got this far in this video and don't have a domain. Quite surprising. I usually get this much sooner, but you can either connect an existing domain. So in a new tab, just to kind of show you guys, if we go to Namecheap, namecheap.com, and I have no affiliation with them. Just showing you, you could look up a domain here. So maybe there's going to be Dry Creek Jerky Co. Copy that, Dry Creek Jerky Co. Or maybe drycreekjerky.co. I don't know, either one would be fine. But drycreekjerkyco.com is $11.28 per year. But then, they say the retail is $15 a year. If we just go directly through Shopify, typically it's like an extra couple dollars per year, $16 versus about $12. So it definitely is a bit more expensive here, but when doing it directly through Shopify, you are getting some advantages. One, it's super easy. For example, your payment information is all in one place. So if you have an expired credit card, you just update it on Shopify. You don't have to sign into Namecheap and update it there as well. And you don't have to worry about losing your domain. Similarly, this does come with Whois privacy. So if somebody just looks up your domain, they're not going to find out what your home address and credit card information actually are. So I'm going to buy this domain. It's going to attach to this store, payment processing, and then we will have that domain for this website. Pretty exciting. And then of course, make sure you go back to your email and click verify in there. That'll set up your domain and finalize it. Going down to languages, if you want to have multiple languages on your website, you can set that up and you can actually get this Shopify Translate and Adapt. So it'll automatically translate your website for you. Kind of just makes it a lot easier in my opinion. One of the great apps you can have, and I'll show you a couple apps in a minute. But then the last thing over here is going to be down in policies. Shopify actually does make a lot of policies for you. So these are basically pre-written policies. If you look at the return policy, there's no policy set, but I could just say insert template. It'll insert the template. Obviously read this because it matters. This is like your policy here, but we can say publish, and you can of course edit that if you wanted to as well. Then down here, terms of service, I'm also going to insert a template, say publish. Shipping policy, we can, there actually is no template for that one, unfortunately. But then contact information down there, we can customize those as we see fit. So that is everything in settings. Now we can talk a little bit more about those apps. So if I click on all recommended apps, it'll bring me into this little interface right here. And then we can click on Shopify App Store on the bottom. It's a little bit tedious to get over to here. I wish there was an easier button. But in essence, this is a good way to browse through and see what kind of apps are actually available out there. There's one in particular I really wanted to add. So if we type in subscription, I made a full video just about this right here. Here we go, Shopify subscriptions. This is actually made by Shopify. So the developer is Shopify. I think that's pretty beneficial. There are other ones that may do a slightly better job that are not from Shopify, but at least from a reliability standpoint, I have been using this one. I'm going to install this, and this gives us a really unique option of, let me just show you right here. You can see in this image that when somebody's buying something, they can choose either a one-time purchase or they can subscribe and save. And you can set it up so that, hey, if you get jerky every single month, I'll give you like a 10% discount, which is great because you now have a recurring customer who could very well even forget about their subscription and just be happy that jerky shows up in the mail, where otherwise they would never think to come back and order again next month. So that's kind of a great thing that I usually like setting up, at least as an option on these stores, especially consumable like beef jerky or like, soda or whatever, anything you're selling that is maybe like hand cream, sunscreen, whatever, that kind of stuff would be probably very well suited for a monthly subscription, or maybe, every 3 months or something like that. When I click on install, it actually opens in a new tab, the subscriptions. So you can see on the left side subscriptions. I usually recommend clicking on pin to navigation. It just makes it a lot easier to find this in the future rather than having to go to apps and then go to all apps that you have available. I just think it's easier if it's pinned on the bottom here. So we're going to create a plan. And I don't want to go too far into this because I did make a full video on it, but just a quick crash course because it is such a cool feature. You can have a title, you can have an internal description, you can choose the products. So internal description, jerky, sub, and save. And here we could browse and say, all right, this is going to apply to all of the jerky flavors, all of the packs, not the gift card. That doesn't really make sense. And there we go. Now we have all variants, all variety packs available for this. And you could say, all right, the offer discount is every 1 month, they get 10% off. Or you could say another option is if they want to do every 2 weeks, they could do maybe 15% off. So more of a discount if you're getting more jerky. And maybe if you want to have just another option here, every 3 months, maybe they'll just get 5% off. So that way there's kind of an incentive to get it more frequently. And you can also do fixed price, fixed amount off or something like that. I'm going to say save. And now we have that set up. So that was incredibly easy in my opinion to set up. You can see we have contracts down here, so you can manage your subscriptions for how many people actually have it. And then other settings can be really customized down here as well. So if we go to our store, let's go to online sales channel, or sorry, I didn't want to click on that. Hover and click view your store. It'll open in a new tab. So if I hover over online store, click on the eyeball icon, that'll view the store in a new page or a new tab. And if I want to say, all right, let's view this product and somebody's going to maybe purchase this, they can add it to the cart. There we go. It's over in the cart. Go to checkout. All right, back to the Shopify App Store though. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk about. If I go to Shopify App Store again, of course, scrolling down, we can see we've got, where's the one I'm looking for? Let's actually search for it. This is called Omnisend. And this is, I see the best match right there. This one has great reviews, as you can see, 4.7 stars for 2,800 downloads. All right, so this is Omnisend. It does a lot, but in summary, essentially SMS and email retargeting. So after somebody purchases something, this is a great way to send them personalized coupons that are not going to be shared on Honey or, coupon websites all across. In fact, it actually makes the coupons for you automatically, individually for each email it sends out if you choose. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second, but there's two ways you can get this. Either click install here, or if you want to support the channel, you can go to santrelmedia.com/Omnisend. And we have a link down below. It's an affiliate link. So again, no extra cost to you, but it will give you a benefit if you go through our link. You can copy this code right here, get 30% off for the first 3 months using that code, and just click on start now. So so we can sign up with Shopify. You'll see that is an option right there. We click on install. We click install again. Now we have to make a password, enter our name, and click get started. Now it looks like they have a couple webinar kind of things that we could attend. I'm just going to close out of this, and it'll kind of automatically set us up to use the branding from our store, from our Shopify site on the email. So it pulls the logo over here. You could replace this if you have a different, maybe higher resolution logo or whatever. So I'm going to upload from my computer. Let's just upload the logo. Like I said, you could just use the one that it pulls from your store, but just in case that's not the same resolution, I'm going to upload one here. There we go. Let's select this one. That looks a little bit better in my opinion. And it also pulled the colors as well. So I think that's really nice. But if, like I said before, if you have that hex code for the colors, you can paste that in right here for each of those. That's why I highly recommend you save those colors or those numbers in like a document somewhere on your computer. This did a good job of pulling it from our logo though. We can choose the font if we want to change that. We can add our social links. So maybe we're going to add in, say, our Instagram. Mine is Mike O'Brien with 2 N's because for some reason, there's a lot of Mike O'Briens out there. Let me actually type in the full URL here, https://instagram.com/Mike O'Brien. There we go. So now I can say save brand assets, and that'll bring us into Omnisend. So let's let this do its thing. While this is doing its thing, I want to go back to that page I was on. I kind of breezed through this a little bit. One key number to see, like why Omnisend instead of some other ones. A lot of people do see a lot of success with Omnisend. So as you can see right here, the current number, this changes by plus or minus like $1 or $2 every now and then, but $68 is the ROI for every $1 I spend. So people who use Omnisend tend to get a pretty good ROI. So getting a lot of people who are very warm leads, they're people that already used or purchased from you in the past. And then by retargeting them with new products, you can send emails or deals to them. Let's see if this is done now. There we go. So it recognized there's 3 products in our store. Right now we want to drive repeat purchases, generate recommended actions, and now they're going to give us some automations that are really pretty much one click. So a sign up form, we could either do that now or do it later. I'm going to do this later. We have a welcome workflow. So after somebody signs up, we can then send them like a, hey, welcome to the email newsletter. Here's a 10% discount just for signing up. And that'll give them a custom coupon. We can also, like I said, that sign up form that I said do later, that would be a great way to say, hey, sign up to get 5% or 10% off emailed to you, and the welcome email is the way to do that. Now, if we go for view plans, like I said, this is actually trying to get us to choose a plan. You could keep the free one, which has the Omnisend logo, or be more professional and just check out the plans. I'm going to check out the plans right here. Like I said, 30% off if you use that discount code, which I believe was Santrel 30 redeem code. That works if you go through the affiliate link down below. There we go. And you can see $11.20 per month or $41.30 per month or the free plan. So 3 different options there. We can choose, honestly, for this tutorial, just to kind of show you guys what we're working with here. I'm going to go with the middle one. So starter discount. And then going back to where we were, so just closing out of that, the next thing it wants us to do is create an email campaign. So kind of walking you through how this works. You create a subject line. So let's say test email 1. Don't actually call it that, of course, but this is going to be sent to anyone in your email list. So the sender's name, you can choose what this is going to be. So we'll say we can choose the pre-header. Actually, for this, let's just say, and we can choose an email template. Now, they have a lot of templates to choose from. You can kind of browse through these, see what makes the most sense for you. Or, of course, you could just build one completely from scratch if you wanted. So let's say this is going to be a welcome one. That's the goal of this. Maybe it's a branded one, and this will automatically put our branding in there as well. So let's roll with this one right now. So if I say use, you can see, look at that. It puts our branding in there. We can change all the text. Pretty easy to use this. Again, this is not an Omnisend tutorial necessarily. I have a full video just talking about how to do all of this, but I wanted to give you a crash course on how this works when you're running a Shopify store. So here's really what I wanted to focus on. So this little coupon right here is really, in my opinion, the bread and butter of this. So you can choose, hey, give out a 10% discount. This is going to be a custom discount for every single person. So when they get this, it'll give them like whatever that is, 12 characters, and they can copy that by clicking redeem discount or just copy and paste it. And that coupon works automatically on your website. So it creates it on the back end with Shopify without having to make a spring 10 or fall 30 or whatever that's going to be, taken all over the entire internet. So this is much more targeted and much more intentional. Now let's save it. You can choose who you want to send to. I'm going to save and close this. I'm not going to send this right now. But just one last thing I want to talk about on Omnisend is over on automation. If we click on automation, we can create a workflow. And there are a lot of pre-built ones that you really don't have to do anything for them. So like abandoned cart's a great one. If somebody adds something to their cart, and then, I don't know, somebody rings their doorbell and they just walk away from their laptop, maybe they forgot to make the purchase. So you can set up a 3 email automation where first it'll say like, hey, you forgot something in your cart. The second time it'll say, hey, we noticed you left something in your cart. Here's 5% off. And then maybe the third one's like a Hail Mary, like, hey, we noticed you left something in your cart 2 days ago. If you want to complete the purchase, here's 10% off. We're not going to email you anymore though. They've got back in stock ones. They've got A/B testing, product abandonment, all different things you can test out in here. And I recommend just kind of play around with it, send these emails out, see what works best for you. And ultimately, it's something that you see on so many websites out there, especially that welcome email of getting a 10% discount. And then they have you in their email, or in this case, you have them in your email newsletter in your email list. So that is Omnisend. Going back to Shopify, we've talked about a lot in this video. We talked about how to build our store, how to design everything, how to add products, how to manage customers, discounts. We talked about different apps you can get. And by the way, as we have Omnisend right here, that always opens in a new tab. So it doesn't really make sense to pin that down on the bottom. But if we go to apps, like I said, tons of other ones you can add. And this dashboard here, don't be alarmed if this changes from time to time. Generally, this is going to be evolving with your store. At the top, you'll always see how many sessions and sales and orders you have. But then down here, this may change as you see payments are activated right now. This is like a checklist for getting started with your store. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider leaving a comment down below. Let me know what kind of store you guys are starting. I wish you all the best of luck, and I really hope to be one of your customers. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.